Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Wednesday. We've got more transfer news to talk about today. There's been loads of it today. It's been an absolutely manic day for Everton Football Club. It's quite clear that when Marcel Brands woke up today, he wasn't having no shit. He wasn't taking nothing from anybody because we've been firing bids left, right and centre at football clubs for different football players throughout the day. We're going to discuss them all in today's live stream. Make sure you get all your comments in the comment section so we can discuss them as well. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be quite a long one as well. We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the main point of today's live stream and the main point of today's transfer news, I suppose, is the big news that Wilfried Zaha has indeed submitted a transfer request to Crystal Palace in order to try and force a move away from the club. Now, we're going to talk about how important this is to Everton. We're also going to talk about how this may sort of make other clubs want to come in and try and sign the player before the 5 PM deadline tomorrow afternoon, of course. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Wilfried Zaha in a little bit more detail because there's been a lot of news regarding the player since our last stream yesterday. We've got Alex Iwobi to talk about. We've got to talk about Chris Smalling from Manchester United. There's absolutely tons for us to go through, so we're going to talk about it in today's team. I've noticed a few live comments just before we started, so we'll go through them first. Mitchell said a few questions for you off the back, Cam. One, is the Zaha transfer in any way linked to the Iwobi to Everton? And Zaha to Arsenal seems a bit cloak and daggers to me. We know there was a bid from yourselves rejected plus 2 players yesterday. What I would say regarding that is that it was actually leaked. It was actually revealed that the Alex Iwobi bid that we made earlier on today was in addition to trying to get Wilfried Zaha to join the club. So the club have obviously come out and said, listen, we want Alex Iwobi, but we also want Wilfried Zaha as well. It does seem a little bit coincidental, considering obviously Arsenal were quite heavily linked with Wilfried Zaha earlier on in the transfer window, but I suppose we'll have to see where that one goes over the next 24 hours. Mitchell also says, what are your thoughts on David Luiz striking from saying to push through a move? You don't, so do that unless you know there's a deal ready. Does that kill the Zuma deal completely? Yeah, that's a little bit of a strange one, that one from David Luiz. I think we're going to talk about Kurt Zuma in today's video, and I do unfortunately think that the Zuma deal is dead in the water at the minute. Like I said, we'll go into a little bit more detail later on, but if David Luiz does leave Chelsea, that almost definitely means there's no chance of a Zuma deal. And Mitchell also says, surely Chelsea can't afford to lose 2 centre-backs with no transfer window. No, you're absolutely right, they can't. Jonathan says, hi Cam, do you think we will get Zaha or will we lose out? We're going to talk about it today. For me, listen, I'm still very 50-50. I am very 50-50. Obviously, Wilfried Zaha has put in a transfer request. He spoke about how he wants to leave Crystal Palace. He spoke about how he wants to join Everton Football Club over the last few days. However, it all does ride on Crystal Palace, of course. They need to accept the bid. They need to be willing to sell the player. He is obviously contacted to them, so he doesn't move unless they have their say, and at the minute it looks like they're standing firm on the fact that they're not willing to sell him for less than £80 million. But anyway, we'll dive straight into it, I suppose, because Wilfried Zaha is the big sort of topic of today's live stream. He's the big topic of conversation over on Twitter and with Evertonians today. Like I said, the start of the stream a little bit earlier today. I was sitting around and I thought, you know what, let's jump into it, let's get involved. There's a load to talk about, so why not start early? So, in case you've missed it, Wilfried Zaha has submitted an official transfer request to Crystal Palace in order to try and force a move away from the club. Now, going all the way back to sort of the end of yesterday, after we finished live streaming yesterday, it was announced that Crystal Palace actually rejected a £70 million bid from Everton. This was reported by Sky Sports from Everton, which included James McCarthy going the other way on a permanent deal, as well as Cenk Tosun going on a loan. Crystal Palace at that point said that the deal was dead in the water. It then was announced earlier on today that Wilfried Zaha was very unhappy about this, and apparently it was revealed that in his contract talks with Crystal Palace before he signed his previous contract, he was told that if a substantial amount of money come in for him, if a bid come in that, you know, was substantial enough and that there was rumours to be that was aimed at around £70 million, he would be allowed to leave the club. So of course he was a little bit annoyed at that one. This was all before. This was all the sort of the preparation, the brew, if you like it, the spark that lit the flame, if you'd like to say, before he officially submitted the transfer request. Sky Sky then reported that Everton would be preparing another bid for Wilfried Zaha. Now, like we said, £70 million plus McCarthy and James Tossen is quite a substantial bid anyway. The club believed that Everton believed that to have been worth over £100 million. It's well known that Crystal Palace want to sign James McCarthy anyway, and he is set to join them for around £8 million. So if you add the 70 to the 8, and then, you know, a loan deal for Cenk Tosun as well, it does come to around about £80 million, which is the fee that Crystal Palace are supposedly wanting for Wilfried Zaha. Now, it's since been announced that Crystal Palace want £80 million in cash for Zaha and don't want the McCarthy deal to play any part in the deal for him, and they also want the large majority of that paid up front. Now, that's obviously really, really interesting. Like we said, this was all brewing throughout the day. It was all sort of brewing that Everton were preparing another bid. All as we really needed at this point was the player himself to try and push a move. The player himself to come out and formally say, listen, I want to move to Everton. I want to leave this football club. Because at the start, you know, at the end of the day, we've got the player wanting to move. We've got, obviously, Everton Football Club wanting to make that deal possible. But you've still got Crystal Palace holding it up. And Crystal Palace were always going to hold it up unless Wilfried Zaha came out and made a move himself. So it is now official. He has handed in an official transfer request to Sky Sports News. So to Crystal Palace, sorry, as being reported by Sky Sports News. So where does that leave Everton Football Club? Where does that leave us? Obviously, we've got until 5 p.m. tomorrow night to make any transfers. So we've got less than 24 hours now to get Wilfried Zaha through the door. Now, like I said in a previous stream, with the player being so keen to join, with the player being so keen to leave Crystal Palace, that maybe gives us a little bit more time, because it means that the contract talks, the talks of a wage, the little sort of bits and bobs that you would genuinely spend a little bit of time talking about, may be already sorted, and he may be willing to just, you know, get into Finch Farm, get a contract signed and get his medical done, obviously, because he's desperate to move. So it maybe does give fans a little bit more of a time to sort of play with Crystal Palace in regards to a transfer fee. The worrying thing is, for me, I'm 50-50 on this transfer. I really, really am. Yesterday I was quite confident. Today I am confident. I lost confidence a little bit towards the middle of the day, when, you know, it sort of became apparent that they weren't going to accept such a massive bid of £70 million plus 2 players. However, when the player officially put in a transfer request himself, that's when I gained a little bit more confidence. The reason I'm confident is because, like I said, not only have we got Marcel Brands in charge, who seems capable of making any deal possible at the minute, but obviously the player's come out himself now and he's openly stated to his club that he wants to move. And if Crystal Palace know what's, I don't know, maybe believe it's best for them at the minute is to take that £70 million or take, you know, a fee that Everton are going to come in with, because they've got a player on the books at the end of the day that isn't happy, doesn't want to play for them, and is more than likely going to get more frustrated if he's denied his move. You know, I don't know whether he'd be the type of player to stop and not want to play for the majority of the season, but like I said, that fee is only going to go down in January. It's only going to go down next summer when he's a year older. He's played another season, so that's why I'm confident on one hand. I'm less confident on the other, because we have left it quite late, and Wilfried Zaha has left it quite late himself to submit this official transfer request. Obviously, you know, we're literally less than 24 hours away from the deadline tomorrow night, so there's not a lot of time for Crystal Palace to find a replacement for Wilfried Zaha. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I genuinely think Wilfried Zaha could be the difference between Crystal Palace being a championship team and Crystal Palace being a premiership team. Now, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm not saying that Crystal Palace are shocking and they're nothing without Wilfried Zaha. What I'm saying is he was directly involved in around 20 of their goals last season, and he really is, at the minute, their only outlet for scoring goals. Obviously, they've got other forwards. Obviously, they've got other attackers. However, they're not quite hitting the form and haven't been quite hitting the form over the last season or so. Wilfried Zaha is the only player that can pretty much guarantee them goals, and obviously if he leaves the club and they don't have time to bring in a replacement, then they really could be in shit street come next season. Now, a little bit more sort of news that gives us a little bit of something to be excited about is Crystal Palace are actually after another striker, another attacking player, I believe from CSK Moscow. They've submitted a second bid, so if that bid is accepted and they manage to bring him in, maybe they'll, you know, be willing to sort of move Wilfried Zaha on and accept a bid that we come in for. But I suppose the big news today is that Wilfried Zaha has officially submitted a transfer request to Crystal Palace. He's informed the club that he would like to leave, he'd like to move on to join Everton. Obviously, we had that deal, we had that bid rejected yesterday of 70 million plus James McCarthy and Cenk Tosun on loan. Palace believed the deal was to be dead. Of course, Wilfried Zaha wasn't very happy about this. He come out, he vocalised his opinion. He was wanting to move, and now he has officially submitted a transfer request. So really, really interesting. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below. It'll be really interesting to hear what you guys have to say. Paul Davis says, how long has the stream been going? Only about 10 minutes, Paul, so you haven't missed out on much. Literally just talking about the first topic of the day. I do apologise, the stream was meant to be at 6:15. However, I thought I'd start it a little bit earlier today because we've got a lot to talk about. Sano says, wouldn't mind if we didn't get Zaha. I think he's about the same level as Bernard. Iwobi would be a downgrade. Fair enough. We're going to talk about Alex Iwobi in just a second. Where are we? Ian says, surely McCarthy deal being only 3 mil is a little sweetener for Zaha. Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about that as well. It's a little bit of a strange one, that, because it was originally revealed that James McCarthy could be joining Crystal Palace for around £8 million. Then BBC come out yesterday and said that he's set to join for 3 million, which is, you know, I know it's only 5 million, but when you look at the deal, it's quite a substantial it's quite a substantial decrease in the transfer fee, So, you know, you would think so. However, you have to also sort of realise, although we don't really care about Crystal Palace and we're not really bothered about their situation, you do also have to realise that he is their most influential player, and James McCarthy wouldn't be coming in to replace Wilfried Zaha either, and James McCarthy doesn't provide an awful lot of goals either. Mikey Clark says, I can definitely see the Zaha deal happening as he has did so much for Palace, and it would be unfair not to let him make his move. That's a very, very good point. It's a point that a lot of fans are making on Twitter, that, you know, there has been that mutual respect between Zaha and Crystal Palace for the entirety of his Palace career, so maybe they'll let him move. Who knows? We'll have to see in the next 24 hours. Mikey also says, Dogs of War on Twitter said that another Zaha bid is going in today. Yes, we believe, as being reported by Sky earlier on today, that we are preparing another bid for Wilfried Zaha. I believe we'd have probably prepared that anyway, regardless of whether he was to put the transfer request in or not. However, I think Marcel Brands has obviously been given a little bit more of a boost, a little bit more of a confidence boost in terms of the transfer, with, you know, the player coming out himself and putting in a formal transfer request. Mikey also says Crystal Palace have had a bid, 23 million for Shalov, who is the attacker for CSK Moscow, I believe. So hopefully, if that deal goes through, hopefully if they can get him signed before 5 PM tomorrow, that may give us a little bit more of an opportunity to bring in Wilfried Zaha. Everton FC is the best, says, hey, watching you, I missed a bit of the steam. Nothing much, we're just talking about Wilfried Zaha. Obviously, like I said, if you missed it, he has officially submitted the transfer request to Crystal Palace, attempting to try and force a move away from the club. Obviously, at the minute, Everton are the only side that are interested. However, we're going to talk in a second about how that may change. We know that yesterday we had a bid rejected of 70 million plus James McCarthy on a permanent deal, and Cenk Tosun as well. Palace then said they believe the deal is to be dead. That is when the player stepped up himself and said, no, I'm not having this, I want the move, I'm going to put in a transfer request. And then we believe Everton are preparing a third bid for the player. Where are we? H-La says, do reckon we will move to a 4-3 fee next year, lad? Maybe. If we bring in another central midfielder, if we bring in Wilfried Zaha, then we may look at that. Roger says, Zaha, Yas, SL, Arsenal. We're going to talk about Arsenal and Spurs in a second. Gamer Boy says, I'd take Zaha all day, but not for that much. Fair enough. Paul says, 80 million is just ridiculous. It is, but in this day and age, you know, you've just seen Harry Maguire go for 80 million. Ian says United have broken the transfer market. So, you know, it is an awful lot of money, but for me, I think it's no question that Wilfried Zaha would take us to that next level. He'd be a step up on what we have, and, you know, like I said, it's not my money really, so if we can spend 80 million on a player that's going to take us to that next level, then for me, I absolutely would. Josh says, do you think Zaha will happen? I'm 50-50 at the moment, mate. It all depends on whether Crystal Palace decide that they want to sell him and take the money, and also whether Crystal Palace are able to find a replacement before tomorrow afternoon. Everton FC is the best, says, so he wants to leave the club, but Crystal Palace won't let him, but he does want to come to Everton. So we're going to talk about that on that topic. Obviously, like we said, the big news of the day is Crystal Palace winger Wilfried Zaha has officially submitted the transfer request. Now, on the surface of that, you get really, really excited. You look at it and you think, right, he wants to move to Everton Football Club. He submitted the transfer request. Now, that is the case, and obviously we're the only team interested at the moment. However, obviously, with him submitting an official transfer request, it begs the question as to whether other teams will come sniffing. Obviously, the big sort of two that we're looking at are Arsenal and Spurs. Arsenal, who were quite heavily linked with Wilfried Zaha earlier on the transfer window. What we know is that they brought in Pepe for £80 million, so they mightn't necessarily be, as sort of willing to pay the money for Wilfried Zaha at the minute. They were only willing to bid 40 million earlier on in the transfer window. However, the big one for me, and the more sort of the one that we should be a little bit more worried about, is Tottenham Hotspur. We've already seen them splash absolute major amounts of cash this season on the likes of Dembele. They've had bids for Paulo Dybala as well, and we know they are looking for a wide man. We know Wilfried Zaha from previous talks was quite keen to sign for Arsenal Football Club. He wanted to stay in London. He then come out, obviously, after that, when he found that Arsenal were no longer interested, and said he just wants to move, and he wants to move to Everton. However, it is a little bit worrying when you think about it. If that Arsenal and Spurs were to come in for the player, who would he choose to go to? I do worry that he would, be swayed by a move to one of the North London clubs, just because obviously he wouldn't have to relocate. He'd be able to still stay in London, and of course he'd be getting his move then to a European club, a club in a European competition. We're not at that level yet, and I think the most important thing with this situation is that Marcel Brands acts quickly. Now, obviously, we've been given a boost in the transfer story with Wilfried Zaha putting in a transfer request himself. I think we now need to just go and sort of go balls to the wall and offer Palace the 80 million that they want. Now, whether some fans think he's worth 80 million or not, I think we can all agree that he would be a step up on what we have already. We've already offered 70 plus McCarthy. We're going to, get, 5 to 10 back for McCarthy. I know it's around about, there's rumours about it being 3, but I dare say with add-ons it'll be about 5 to 10. So for me, I would just go balls to the wall now and put that bid in and try and get Palace to accept that bid as soon as possible, because what we don't want is Wilfried Zaha as he is to pick up tomorrow with the potential move to Spurs or Arsenal, and that sort of be dead in the water, and then we've spent sort of the last week and a half trying to pursue a player that actually is going to move to a North London club. So like I said, hopefully if we're still interested in the player, if we're dead solid on wanting to make a third bid, we get that done as soon as possible and we can get the player in. Because he definitely seems to want to move away from Crystal Palace. He seems like he wants to move to Everton Football Club, so let's get that done now before any other club seems to be interested. One thing worth noting, it's a little bit of a theory. It doesn't necessarily, ring absolute, this is definitely true, this is why it's happening. However, one thing to note is that if Crystal Palace manage to take us past noon tomorrow, so if we don't get the Zaha deal done by 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, obviously the transfer window shuts at 5 p.m, we'll have to get the deal done by 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon for him to be eligible to play on Saturday against Crystal Palace on the opening day of the season. So it's something I read on Twitter before. Obviously, it's not solid. It's not, confirmed that that's what they're doing, that's what they're waiting out for. However, it does make sense that if Crystal Palace were to sell, they'd make us wait a little bit longer, just so they didn't have to face Wilfried Zaha on Saturday. Again, it's a little bit of a theory. It mightn't be true. It might just be, somebody that's put 2 and 2 together and made 4. However, it's an interesting one to think about, definitely. I'm just going to tweet today's stream out so everybody knows we are live over on Twitter. Currently got 53 people watching. Thank you all so much for all of the support. The support on the streams recently has been absolutely unbelievable. If you're enjoying today's stream, please do hit that like button. It really does mean a massive amount to me. I think the stream yesterday got record amount of likes in terms of the channel, so I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you all so much. If you haven't already as well, please hit that subscribe button. The subscribers have been going through the wall recently. We're close to 650 subscribers now after only hitting 600 a couple of days ago, so thank you all so much for the support. It really does mean a massive amount to me. Let's jump into the live comments and see what they are saying. Where are we? Evan FC is the best, says, or read that one, sorry, he wants to come to, but Crystal Palace won't let him. Yes, we've read that one. Paul says, it's called inflation, Ian, the money in footy is ridiculous, you'd almost be better off buying a football club. Exactly, and it's not like we're spending, an amount on Wilfried Zaha that no other football club would spend, or no other football club is, is willing to spend. I think, obviously, £80 million for the player is a little bit ridiculous, but when you look at the situation that Crystal Palace are in, £80 million is a deal that they are saying they would accept. Obviously, given the, their previous actions in the transfer window, that is not confirmed either. But He is a player that, like I said, for me, in my opinion, is the difference between them playing in the Premier League and the Championship next season. If they don't replace his goals, if they don't replace his creativity, they could be in big, big trouble. So, in terms of it, yes, 80 million is a massive amount of money. However, to Crystal Palace, he's obviously worth that amount of money. And for me, I think we should just go out and pay that, in my opinion. Anyway, can't think of an effing name. Says effing hate Palace. Fair enough. Obviously, they're playing hard to get, but it's their key player that's on the line here, and they haven't got an official replacement sorted yet. So you do sort of expect it. Everton FC is the best. Says other teams will, but Arsenal won't spend that much. And neither will Spurs. I think if we're spending 80 million, then we'll definitely get him. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Obviously, we've got until 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, so fully expect the end of tonight and the whole of tomorrow to be just as jam-packed as today was. Ian says, yes, Paul, I'm just paraphrasing Paul Merson when he moaned last year that we broke the transfer window over the Richarlison deal. Yeah, he's an absolute dickhead, isn't he, Paul Merson? Paul Davis says, 53 people watching live cam, amazing live. Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you very much to everybody that's come to watch us live. We've got loads more to talk about today, so please do stay tuned. It's not over yet. We've still got multiple players to talk about, multiple links, of course, that have happened today. Gamer Boy says Spurs and Arsenal would not pay that. Fair enough. Everton FC is the best. Says Wilfried wants to join a European club, but he also said he wants to win games and have a good chance of winning, and Everton can give that. We certainly can. Let's hope we can get the deal done before tomorrow's deadline. Josh says the centre-back vacancy is making me worry. Yes, we're going to talk about that one in just a second. Bradley Rowland says predicting these next 24 hours. Listen, it's been absolutely manic today. I likened it today. I was sitting in work and I thought, you know what? Today almost seems like, Marcel Brands has woke up. His alarm's gone off. He's lifted his head off the pillow. He's thought, right, I'll go down. I'll have a cup of tea. I'll have me Weetabix. I'll say hello to the wife. I'll get me business done. And he sat down with his, his chocolate Weetabix and milk. And he's looked at the telly. He's looked at the screen and he's seen that Palace have rejected the £70 million offer plus McCarthy and Tossen for Wilfried Zaha, and they believe the deal is in the dead, and he's just swiped his Weetabix, he's launched him across the room, he's launched his cup of tea, he's threw the mug at the wall, and he's gone, I'm having him, I'm having him, I'm having him, I'm having him, I'm still having him. And that just seems like what's happened today. We've been linked with literally everybody under the sun again, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. Can't think of an effing name. Says Zaha could be the difference between us getting top 6 or mid-table. I agree, absolutely spot on, mate. I agree. Tano says it would be funny if we bought Bruno Fernandes. It'd be absolutely unbelievable if we bought Bruno Fernandes, but I'm not too sure how possible that deal is. And Everton FC is the best, but to be honest, in my opinion, we are buying another version of Bernard that's exactly the same for 80 million. Fair enough. A couple of people have said that today. It'd be interesting to hear what you guys think. Do you liken sort of Wilfried Zaha to Bernard? Do you think he's a lot better? Do you think we shouldn't spend the £80 million, or do you agree with me that he could take us to that next level? Ed Carew says we need a fast centre back. I'd take that young lad from Chelsea. Yes. Obviously Tamari, we're going to talk about him a little bit later on in the stream. And Bradley says is Iwobi a smoke screen for Zaha? I'm not too sure. It's a very, very good question. Obviously Marcel Brands and Marco Silva actually come out today, or the club come out today, and said they believe that Iwobi is in addition to Wilfried Zaha and not instead. So that's also very, very interesting. So anyway, we'll go down the line now. We'll move on to talking about some of the other transfers that have been rumoured today regarding Everton Football Club. Like I said, it's been an absolutely manic day again, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. So starting off with the one that was sort of most random and least likely, I suppose. So it was revealed today by Sky Sports that Everton actually attempted to bring in Manchester United defender Chris Smalling on loan for the season, and it was rejected by Manchester United, much to the disappointment of many Manchester United fans and much to the enjoyment of many Everton fans. Obviously, listen, for me, I don't think Chris Smalling improves our squad. I think bringing him in on loan to be a backup centre-half wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing in the world, because at the end of the day we need another centre-half. We need another player in that position that can come in and that can sort of be there if needed, be covered if you like. However, like you said, it's not the most inspiring deal whatsoever. We've gone from the likes of Kurt Zouma today to Chris Smalling, and it was obviously quite clear that Manchester United have plans for Chris Smalling next season, because they pretty much rejected the deal straight away. And that was that, really. Like I said, it come out of nowhere. It was the most random thing in the world. It was announced by Sky that we'd bid to bring him in on loan, and it was announced literally 2 minutes later that bid had been rejected, and that was the end of that one. So obviously let me know your thoughts on that one. Not much to talk about. In my personal opinion, I I don't know. I wouldn't have him if we were bringing him in with the with the intention of playing him every single week, with the intention of him being one of the two centre halves that plays every week. However, bringing him in on loan to be sort of cover for the centre backs, I wouldn't be totally opposed to it. He doesn't bring much to Everton Football Club. I don't think he's the quality of player that we should be going at. I think we should be aiming much higher. However, we are in desperate need of a centre half at the moment. Moving on. Obviously, a little bit more of an interesting move. Alan Myers reported today that Everton had bid £30 million for Arsenal winger Alex Iwobi. That bid was rejected again, quite, soon after it was put in. Now, this is really, really interesting, this one, because when it was first revealed, when it was first announced, a lot of people started to think that this was, in replace of Wilfried Zaha, instead of Wilfried Zaha, because it was literally announced just after we heard sort of all the information about Zaha being unhappy and Palace believing that the deal is dead in the water. Now, it got a lot of Everton fans sort of triggered on Twitter. It got a lot of Everton fans talking, saying that, they don't want to spend 30 million on Alex Iwobi. They don't believe he's worth it. In my personal opinion, I think he's a good player. I think 30 million in this day and age, again, it's not the most expensive transfer. I'm not going to lie, I would be disappointed if he was the alternative to Wilfried Zaha, because I think whereas Zaha could take us to that next level, whereas Zaha could be the difference between us finishing in 6th or 7th and finishing the top 4. I don't think Alex Iwobi is ready to be that player yet. He's still quite young. He's still only 23 years old. He is a good footballer. He does provide, attacking presence, and I think he would improve the squad. However, like I said, if it was an alternative between him and Zaha, I would have to go for Zaha, despite obviously the massive increase in transfer budget that it would cost us to bring Zaha in. However, it was then revealed literally a couple of hours later that the bid for Alex Iwobi was in addition to any bid or any transfer that we would make to Wilfried Zaha, and that's when everything went a little bit mad. That's when everything went a little bit bonkers, because we all started to realise that whether the club was saying this is sort of a matter to calm the fans down, whether it was a smokescreen like some people think it is, or whether it's genuinely true. The club had come out and said it wasn't in replace of Wilfried Zaha, it was actually in addition. And if that was to be true, that would mean that we'd be spending £120 million on £110 million, sorry, my maths is shocking, £110 million, providing that if we was to sign Zaha for 80 on two wide players, having already just signed Moise Keane, who was likely to play through the middle next season, and having Richarlison and Bernard there as well. So it's a really, really interesting one, definitely one to worth talking about. Obviously, like we said, Alan Myers released the information today. Very, very, very credible source, of course, works very close to the club, as well as Sky Sports revealing it as well. Again, pretty similar to the Smalling deal. It was announced that we were after the player, it was announced that we bid for the player, and it was announced that that bid had been rejected almost straight away. So there you go. Arsenal quite clearly believe that Alex Iwobi is worth more than £30 million. Some fans believe that it was some sort of deal for us to sign Alex Iwobi from Arsenal to then give Arsenal the funds to then go and sign Wilfried Zaha. I don't want to believe that, to be honest with you. I want to be optimistic. I want to believe that we are genuinely after the pair of them. However, like I said, if you were to say to me Zaha or Iwobi, I would genuinely prefer obviously Wilfried Zaha to come in before the 5 PM deadline tomorrow. Where are we? Where were we up to? Scott says, do you think the Doucouré and Zuma deals are dead? Unfortunately, I do. I don't think Watford would budge for anything for Doucouré now, especially with less than 24 hours to go in the transfer window. Obviously, they've just brought Danny Welbeck in. However, he's not a central midfielder. He's not going to come in and replace Doucouré. And in terms of Zaha, we'll talk about him a little bit later on. But I do believe that one won't happen either. Just my personal opinion, of course. Anything can change with Marcel Brands being in charge of the transfers. Evan FC is the best, says, hey, I will give you shout outs on my Insta and hopefully you can get 650. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate that. Ian Clark says, love Bernard, but Zaha would increase competition and options. He definitely would. Jeff says, missed a bullet in Smalling. I agree. Scott says, Bernard and Siggy created 40 chances between them. Zaha created 52 on his own. Exactly. And that for me is the difference. That for me shows that Wilfried Zaha could potentially be the difference maker in us finishing in 6th, in 7th, or really, really pushing to finish in that top 4. And I think that is, for me, why he's worth that extra 10 million. We've already bid 70 million and offered 2 players. We're going to get around about 8 million, it looks like, for James McCarthy. So just add the other 2 million on and make that bid. And let's do it before any other side seems interested in Wilfried Zaha. Let's do it before any other team comes sniffing. Get the player in before the deadline tomorrow, and let's get, obviously, it sorted. Listen, if it takes till over 12 p.m. tomorrow afternoon and that's all Palace wanted and they don't want him to play on Saturday, then that is what it is. He misses 1 game this season. Whoop-de-doo. Let's hope that we can make that transfer happen. Jeff says, I hear Mick Lyons is on a plane from Australia just in case we need him. Ian says, I've got Iwobi on the bench of my fantasy team. Fair enough. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good bench player. I just don't think he's at that level to take us to that next step yet, whereas I do think Wilfried Zaha is. However, if we're in for both and he's not a replacement, he will be an addition to, then fuck it, let's have both of them, bring them both in, Brands. Bradley says, oh no, where are we? Jeff says, I'm thinking Liverpool might be waiting in the wings for Zaha. It's a worry. I don't think Liverpool would be interested in him. I think it's too much of a transfer fee, and I think, they're already sorted with their wingers at the minute. Bradley says, who do you think we'll get for centre half? We're going to talk about Fikayo Tomori, sorry, I've absolutely butchered that name, from Chelsea, who Everton are believed to be after, and we'll talk about him in just a second. Simon So says, you should replace that tosser off Sky Sports. You do a great job, mate. Thank you very much, Simon. That really, really does mean a massive, massive amount to me, and thanks to everybody else as well. Just realised 69 people, just nearly 70 people in the stream today. A massive, massive thank you to everybody for getting involved. If you are enjoying the stream so far, please do hit that like button. It really, really does mean a massive amount to me. If we could end the stream on around about 30 likes, that would be absolutely unbelievable. And if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We've got a massively busy day between now and the end of today, and then a massively busy day tomorrow as well. We've obviously got the deadline at 5 p.m. and I expect a lot to happen between now and then, so don't forget to stay tuned, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the live streams, any of the information, and don't forget to go and follow us over on our Twitter as well, at MightyBluesYT, to keep up to date with all of the latest information over there. Clay says, top 4, what a joke. I don't think it is, mate. I genuinely think if we bring Wilfried Zaha in, we could challenge for the top 4. Whether we finish in there is a different question, but I definitely think we could challenge. Everton FC is the best, says, I'm so effing excited for the season, I can't wait to beat Palace. Hopefully. He also said, Clay Arnold, we hope, bro, have hope, bro, anything is possible, especially if we're getting Zaha. Exactly. Who'd have thought at the start of the transfer window that we could potentially be signing Wilfried Zaha? Not me, but there you go. Marcel Brands' masterclass as per usual, of course. Anyway, moving on now from Wilfried Zaha and obviously the 2 transfer deals today for Alex Iwobi and Chris Smalling that sort of come out the blue. One transfer that has been bubbling for the last couple of days now is James McCarthy's permanent transfer to Crystal Palace. We spoke about yesterday how Palace were adamant in not having this transfer play any part in the potential transfer for Wilfried Zaha. It was said yesterday by BBC that McCarthy had travelled to London. He was there today completing a medical, and he is believed to make his transfer. Now, it's a bit strange, this one, because BBC announced last night that it was around £3 million. We've had other journalists announce that it's around £8 million, so we don't quite know where about the transfer fee is. However, I think it's become pretty apparent now that James McCarthy will make the switch to Crystal Palace. You would hope that would, help build relationships, help build the rapport between Marcel Brands and Crystal Palace, and hopefully building towards the Wilfried Zaha deal. However, like we said earlier, James McCarthy isn't going to come in and replace Wilfried Zaha, and Crystal Palace would, in my opinion, be really, really lost without him. However, not discussing Zaha, obviously James McCarthy is set to make his move before tomorrow's 5 p.m. deadline to Crystal Palace. The deal is, let's just say, between £3 to £10 million. For me, like you said, James McCarthy, in my opinion, is a really, really good footballer, a player that always gave it 110% every time he stepped on the pitch for Everton Football Club, always wore his heart on his sleeve, always, fought and played his absolute bollocks off. It's, disappointing that his career was hindered due to, plethora of injuries since joining Everton Football Club. However, every time he stepped on that football pitch, he put us all into the game, and I've got to say, I wish James McCarthy absolute best of luck in his move to Crystal Palace. Of course, Crystal Palace, any Crystal Palace fans, if you watch him, probably not, because obviously we're talking about Zaha, but if you're watching, you're picking up an absolutely fantastic footballer, and if you can stay fit, I genuinely think you've got a really, really good midfielder on your hands. Like I said, the issue is him staying fit. However, if he can stay fit and injury-free throughout this season, I genuinely think he's a decent player. Don't get me wrong, he's not going to be a massive loss to Everton, especially obviously with bringing in Fabian Delph, bringing in Andre Gomes, bringing in Jean-Philippe Gbamin as well. However, he is still a decent player and more than good enough to get in that Crystal Palace side, and I genuinely think he will give us all every single week. So it looks like James McCarthy will be making the switch to Crystal Palace before tomorrow's deadline. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comments section down below. Moving quickly on, as you can see by the title, L'Equipe, obviously very reliable French source, are reporting that Monaco right back Djibril Sidibe is very, very close to completing his move to Everton Football Club. We've been speaking about this one for the last couple of days. It's been rumoured for the last couple of days. What we know so far is the player is likely to move on loan for the 2019-2020 season, and then there is an option to buy of around £13 million if we choose to take that up. We know he's a World Cup winner. We know he's a player that, he was fantastic. He's had quite a significant injury in the past sort of 6 to 12 months with his knee, so it'll be interesting to see how good he is, obviously, coming back from that injury. However, one thing is for sure, and that is that he isn't just cover for Seamus Coleman. He isn't just a player that can come in when Seamus is injured or when Seamus needs a rest. He is competition for Seamus Coleman, and I think it's quite clear that he's more than good enough to provide that competition, and this will mean that Seamus has to step up his game. Seamus has to make sure that he is given 100% week in, week out, has to make sure that he's playing to his full potential every single week, because we've now got a World Cup winner who is in competition with him for that right back place. We've already seen some people that have seen Djibril Sidibe play saying that he could even take up Seamus's place as number one right back if he comes to Everton. However, I think one thing is for sure is that he's going to provide some really, really solid competition for Seamus Coleman, and that's obviously fantastic. That's what you want. You don't want to be bringing players in that are just cover. You don't want to be bringing players in that are good enough to make the bench, are good enough to play the odd game, but aren't necessarily good enough to play 38 games a season. You want to be bringing players in that will compete for their position, and if needed, are good enough to play the entirety of a Premier League season, and that seems to be what we're getting with Sidibe. Really, really interesting bit of news in this transfer is that Monaco's manager had a press conference today, and he said that the deal for Sidibe to join Everton is imminent. They brought in a new fullback yesterday or earlier on today, I believe it was, obviously to replace him, to come in replacement of Sidibe. So, like I said, Monaco's manager himself saying that it's pretty much imminent. We're literally just waiting now for an announcement. I believe the player has been at Finch Farm today for his medical, so hopefully we can get that one done early on tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, if not, later today. And then obviously we can move on to focusing on a centre-half as well as Wilfried Zaha. Where are we within the live comments? Let's start back into them. If you're enjoying today's team so far, 75 people in the live comments, please do hit that like button. It really, really does mean a massive, massive amount to me. Mo says, as much as I think we've done some good business, it's strange why we've left the Corey deal so late. It is strange, especially considering Marco Silva, is a massive, massive fan of the player, especially considering Marco Silva has come out and said he would want to bring the player in, and he's desperate to bring the player in, and if we don't sign him this summer, he'll be after him again in January. So you're right, it is a little bit strange as to why we've left it so late. However, I don't think we'll be bringing Decore in this summer. I think Watford will stay firm, and I think we'll walk away from it now, because I think it's quite clear that they're not willing to budge at any transfer. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we put in another cheeky 40-odd, 50-odd million pound bid for him tomorrow, because I just don't put anything past Marcel Brands anymore. Clay says, I guess for now, let's focus on getting European football. You're right. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We made that mistake last season of getting too ahead of ourselves. Let's focus now on breaking into that top six, like we said. But for me, that is a bare minimum for this season, especially if we bring Wilfried Zaha in. Our bare minimum should be finishing in that top six, and we should be aiming to challenge him for the top four, in my opinion. Simon says, I've hit the bottom my first time I saw this channel, boss. Thank you very much, Simon. I really, really do appreciate that, and I appreciate all of the support from everybody else as well. Kiara says, Inter Milan have upped their bid for Lukaku, so that's 5 million for Everton and 5 million for McCarthy, so that let's use that extra 10 million to get Zaha. Yes, hopefully that deal gets through for Romelu Lukaku. Of course, like you said, we'll get a little bit of money from that, as well as the money for the McCarthy deal, and that might just be the initiative that Marcel Brands needs to go and give Crystal Palace exactly exactly what they want. Taino says, to be fair, we should go to Barca and loan a centre-back. That is also potentially something that Marcel Brands and Marco Silva may look at. I think we're more than likely going to sign a centre-back on loan rather than as a permanent deal tomorrow. I can see it happening very similar to how it happened last summer with Kurt Zouma, us bringing in a player on loan that'll come in and hopefully provide cover and competition for, obviously, Michael Keane and Yerry Mina. Everton FC is the best. Says James McCarthy isn't that good, he won't damage Everton, will it? I think he's a fantastic player. I just think the issue with James McCarthy is he struggled with injury throughout his Everton career. Obviously, when being fit in the back end of last season, Marco Silva didn't really fancy him, so I don't think he'll be a massive miss. However, I think Crystal Palace, having said that, are getting a fantastic player if he can remain fit. Mitchell says, can you really see you signing Iwobi and Zaha without a major departure in the same season camp? I can't, to be honest with you. I can't see us signing both. However, I can see us bringing in Wilfried Zaha. And I think, it's positive that the club have obviously come out and said it is in addition to Wilfried Zaha and not it is in replacement. And I think that also calms the fans' nerves down a little bit that thought Iwobi will be coming in as an alternative to Zaha. Scott says, as it stands, we've brought a player from the champions of England, Spain and Italy. Exactly. And, that's what Marcel Brands does, doesn't he? He goes to the best clubs in the world, he goes to the best teams in the world, and like I said, he goes, I'm going to have him, and I'm going to have him on my terms. I'm not going to have him on your terms. I'm going to bring that player to Everton Football Club, and it's going to be when I want, how I want, and, he's going to do what I say, basically, and we've seen that this season, and he's going to the best clubs in the world and doing that as well, so an absolute masterclass of a summer from Marcel Brands so far. Let's hope that he can add to that before tomorrow's deadline. Kiara says, Mitchell, we've had a major departure gone again. We have made around 100 million on departures with more to go. Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people have been getting carried away with the sort of net spend thing and, how we're going to sort of afford these players and how we're going to break through financial fair play. But when you look at it, obviously, we've sold Adissa Garnegay for around £30 million. We've sold Ademola Lookman. We've sold Nikola Vlasic. We're looking to sell James McCarthy as well. So, obviously, Henry Onyekuru, I dare say he'll leave before the end of the transfer window. So we've made quite a bit of money back as well. Obviously that'll change if we bring Wilfried Zaha in and if we were to bring Alex Iwobi in as well. But the net spend is actually looking pretty decent so far. Where are we? Good Soul says it's great that there will now be competition for places all over the park, being far too long since that has happened. Yes, I agree 100%. Mitchell says, in my opinion, at this stage of the career, Sidibe is a lot better than Coleman. Fair enough, and that's what you want to see. You want to see us bringing in players that, not only provide cover, like I said, but provide competition and could potentially break into that starting 11. Everton FC is the best, says Mitchell. I think Coleman is quality when he has a good game. He gives us hope, but right now we don't know what Sidibe can do, so I still prefer Coleman. Fair enough, and I suppose we'll see what Sidibe can do over the next couple of weeks, providing he signs, which I do think he will. I think he'll be the next player to be announced as an Everton player. Simon says, what I don't understand is why the new stadium is only 52k when yet I'm on a waiting list on the 3rd tier for a season ticket. Yes, like we said, I dare say, if the new stadium capacity sells out quickly, the club will then look to expand. They're already talking about expanding to a potential 62k. Really interesting. You should bring that up. We're going to talk about the stadium next week once obviously all the transfer talk is done, and once the first game of the season is done next Wednesday, we're going to sit down and talk about Bramley Moor Docks. Will says, I'm not happy with these Iwobi links. Fair enough. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, of course. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Good Soul says, agree with Simon. Massive waiting list for season tickets and only 52k. Maybe just to get the initial plan and then it will be up. Yeah, I would assume that that's probably the most likely. Ian says Sidibe has had an injury or two, but if he stays fit along with Gabaman, they will give us a lot of physicality. Yes, you're absolutely spot on. And Kirsten says Zaha to Arsenal. Who knows? Obviously, I dare say that now that he's submitted an official transfer request, there will be other clubs that are likely to be interested in the player because it's now official that he wants to leave and, obviously pursue his career somewhere else. Anyway, moving on to centre-halves now. So we'll talk about two centre-backs from Chelsea. One obviously being Kurt Zouma, a player that we all hoped would sign this transfer window. The Echo are reporting that Everton are set to give up on Kurt Zouma as Frank Lampard and Chelsea are unwilling to sell. However, a little bit of positive news to come from that one is that Everton are due to make a move for Chelsea centre-back Fikayo Tomori on loan. Chelsea are said to be willing to let Tomori go out on loan, willing to let him come to Everton for a season. Obviously, he would, again, like I said, provide competition, provide cover for Michael Keane and Yerry Mina. It's not ideal. We would have liked Kurt Zouma to come in. However, quite a similar situation to last year. We're bringing in a Chelsea centre-back on loan And hopefully, if called upon, he'll be able to show us what he can do. I believe he's got a lot of potential. I believe he's got a lot of quality as well. So we'll see if we can get that deal done. I think it'll be a priority to Sylvan and Brands. However, I think that'll be a deal that we'll sort of see towards the back end of tomorrow. Obviously, like I said, not a late deadline at all, 5 p.m. So by this time tomorrow, we'll know exactly how our squad is looking going in to the Crystal Palace game. So let me know your thoughts on that one. Like I said, it appears that Everton's deal or Everton's sort of bid to try and bring Kurt Zouma to the club is dead in the water. Chelsea aren't willing to sell a centre-half, and Frank Lampard isn't willing to sell, and Kurt Zouma himself doesn't really seem willing to force a move either. So we might have to settle, obviously, for Tomori, who is, again, another good young centre-back. Obviously doesn't have the experience in the Premier League that Kurt Zouma does. Obviously isn't ideal because, he hasn't played for the club before. Kurt Zouma would be ideal because he'd be coming in back into a system that he knows, that he's played in. It'd be a player that, obviously, Marco Silva knows a lot about. However, it'll still be a centre-half coming in Tomori, and he, again, like I said, would be providing cover for our two centre-halves, and we desperately, in my opinion, need to bring in a centre-half before the deadline because we are a little bit short in that position. Anyway, moving on, let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below. It's disappointing about Kurt Zouma, it is. However, that deal has been sort of very, very quiet now for the last, few weeks. There hasn't been much sort of, if any at all, throughout the whole summer transfer window regarding Kurt Zouma and a potential move to Everton. So I can't say I'm surprised at it. Obviously, it's really, really disappointing. I would have loved for Kurt Zouma to move to Everton Football Club. However, listen, it's not, it's not the end of the world, is it? Hopefully we can go and bring in another centre-half that can provide cover and maybe, like I said, push for Kurt Zouma in January or next summer. Let's see how many chances and how many opportunities he gets at Chelsea before then. 75 people currently in the live, watching live. Thank you all very, very much. It really, really does mean a massive, massive amount to me. If you could hit that like button, that again would mean a massive, massive amount to me. If you could get to 30, 40 likes before we end the stream, that would be absolutely fantastic. A massive thank you to everybody once again for getting involved in the live stream. A massive thank you to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. We're not done yet. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button as well. Moving swiftly on, obviously, the transfer rumours. This has all happened today, by the way. So if you haven't been on Twitter, if you haven't been on social media, this has all happened today. Moving on, Morgan Schneiderlin is apparently in advanced talks to join Galatasaray. We believe this will be as on a loan move. This is according to Manu Konjan, or Lonjon. Sorry, I can't even read my own writing. He is reporting that Morgan Schneiderlin is close to joining Galatasaray on loan. Now, obviously, we know we've brought in a couple of midfielders, a few midfielders this summer, bringing in Fabian Delph, bringing in Andre Gomez, bringing in Jean-Philippe Gbamin, obviously already having Tom Davis there as well. It does lead the question as to where Morgan Schneiderlin's future is and whether he has a future at Everton Football Club. Of course, I dare say the player's a little bit agitated. I dare say the player is sort of having a little bit of a think about whether he'd be in the plans for next season. And it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that he is being linked with a move away from the football club. We're led to believe that Galatasaray will pay all his wages, which again takes around £180 million, 150 to 180 thousand pound a week, off the wage bill, which is really, really positive news as well. So we'll keep you up to date on that one and see if that one goes through before tomorrow's deadline. And finally, well, not finally, there's another one to talk about before we end this team, but just before we talk about the last transfer bid, like I said, going back to the Wilfried Zaha situation, the Telegraph have reported literally just before we started seeing him, and that Everton are set to make a very big late bid to try and sign Wilfried Zaha after he has submitted his transfer request. So it seems that Marcel Brands is very, very, very interested in making a third bid. It seems that he's been given sort of a little bit more of a positive sort of energy in terms of the Zaha deal, with him obviously submitting a formal transfer request. So again, we'll see how that one sort of evolves over the next 24 hours or 23 hours now, considering the transfer window shuts very, very shortly. Anyway, finally, the last transfer room we're going to talk about today to end this team on. I don't know. Is it a positive? Is it a negative? I don't know. Anyway, Oumar Niasse has told Everton that he wants to leave the club to join Trabzonspor, and that is according to Fanatic. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below. Listen, again, we're not going to miss Oumar Niasse, are we? Again, my personal opinion, I commend the bloke. He's come in, he's had an absolute shit time at the football club. He had a shocking time under Obviously Ronald Koeman, who, you know, absolutely just put him at the side and didn't even give him a locker, didn't allow him to train with the first team. He was brought in by Roberto Martinez, pretty much neglected, and then he hasn't been given that much of an opportunity under Marco Silva, and rightly so. Let's be honest, he's not good enough to play for Everton Football Club. He's not even good enough for me to be an impact sub, to come off the bench. However, you do have to command his professionalism and the fact that he's just gotten his head down. He hasn't come out, he hasn't sprouted any shite, he hasn't spoken about a move, he's just got his head down and he's worked hard, and for that I think he deserves his move, and if that's what he wants, then I think we should let him go. Obviously, get some wages off the wage bill. He again is on, you know, quite a decent wage packet considering he come in as a player that Martinez, seen as, you know, our new number 9 who was going to, you know, give us all these goals. So again, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how that one develops over the next 24 hours. That is it for the transfer news today. Dive in the live comments before we end the stream. Mitchell says, who else do you think we could bring in? Personally, okay, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say I think we'll bring Sidibe in. I think that one will be done, if not tonight, very early tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow morning. I think we'll bring Tamari in on loan. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to bring Wilfried Zaha in as well, and maybe another central midfielder. But definitely Tamari and Sidibe, and hopefully Wilfried Zaha as well. That would top off the transfer window fantastically for us Evertonians, I believe. Mitchell says, I reckon we could bring in Rojo. He's been rumoured over the last couple of days, couple of weeks. There's not been obviously a bid made. There's not been an approach made. Interesting that we made an approach for Chris Smalling before Marcus Rojo. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we make a late move for him tomorrow, considering Man United will probably be up for selling him, and considering we're still needing a centre-half as well. Rabbi says, yes, Lara, new to the channel, what do you think about the Zaha rumour? Thank you very much for joining and welcome to the channel. If you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I think it's 50-50 for me at the minute as to whether we'll sign Wilfried Zaha. I'm very, very, very positive about the fact that he's now submitted the transfer request. I'm very positive about the news saying that Everton look to bid for a third time. However, we just need to make sure that the third bid now is a substantial amount and is an amount that, you know, Crystal Palace aren't going to be able to turn around and decline. And let's get this deal done, in my opinion, before any other side comes and sniffs around the player. Mitchell says on loan. Yeah, on loan for Marcus Rojo. I dare say that would be more likely than bringing him in on a permanent. Simon says, when are we putting a bid in for Bale, Neymar and Pele? You never know with Marcel Brands, do you? Anything is possible with Marcel Brands in charge. Good Soul says, think we'll get Zoom in January. Fair enough, I do hope so. If we don't manage to get him this summer, I do hope we can get him either in January or next summer. Dan says, any chance Holgate gets a legit chance to be the safety net? Maybe. It was talk of the club a couple of months ago, obviously at the start of the transfer window, as to where Marco Silva sees Mason Holgate next season, whether he sees him even at Everton Football Club, and if he is seeing him at Everton Football Club, whether he sees him as, you know, cover for right back, whether he sees him at cover for centre back. It'll be really, really interesting, obviously, to see whether Marco Silva sees him as ready to sort of be a replacement or be cover, if you like, for either of those positions going into next season. I suppose we'll have to wait and see. Mitchell says, I would like to bring in Rojo on loan, maybe. I think he's a decent player. I don't think he's necessarily better than what we've got, but in terms of being covered and sort of a backup, I think he's good enough to step in if needed. Everton FC is the best. Says, wow, 72 people watching and 35 likes, amazing. You're like the best Everton fan channel out there, in my opinion. Thank you very much. That means so much to me. Thank you so much for the support. It really, really does mean a lot, and I appreciate that one. Everton FC is the best also says, who do you see us realistically placing in the league with the players we have right now, with Zaha and without Zaha? With Zaha, I think minimum top 6, minimum 6th, maximum 5th. I'd love to say 4th. My optimism wants to say 4th, but I'm going to say 5th. I think without Zaha, we should still be pushing for the top 4 and the top 6, but I'll say maximum 5th, minimum 7th, maybe. I don't know, but I do genuinely think if we can bring in Wilfried Zaha, it would take us to that next level. Terry says, I would be happy, very happy if we got Zaha and a centre-back tomorrow. I'd be absolutely over the moon with that one as well. Michael says, I would like to bring in Zaha, me and you both. Mo says, bit worried for our midfield on Saturday. McCarthy and Schneiderlin got Delph injured and Gabama not ready. Yeah, listen, I think obviously Gabama come out and he said that he didn't believe he'd be ready, and then Moise Keane come out and said he thinks he is ready, and then Gabama sort of changed his mind. However, like you said, it's a good point, obviously, with 2 centre midfielders going, Delph picking up an injury that we still don't know an awful lot about, and Gabama stating as of now that he's not ready. It is a good point. However, obviously we've still got Andre Gomez there, we've still got Tom Davis there who could step in, so, and Gabaman may well be ready. He's got another few days of training to go, so we'll see where that one goes. Kiari says, Niasse seeing all the class players coming in and realised he is a little bit out of his depth, maybe. Michael says, what do you reckon on Rojo? I wouldn't mind him. I don't think he's good enough to come in and play every single week, but in terms of being a replacement, being cover, I think he's good enough to come in and play if needed. And I do also think he could provide competition for the two current centre-halves. Goodsall says, if he gets Sidibe, Zaha and a centre-back on loan, has to be the best transfer window I can ever remember. It's definitely one of the best ones I can remember in my 20 years of existing on this planet. Let's hope that before the deadline tomorrow we can bring in those players. Football Fan says streams every day and deadline day stream plans. Yes, there will be a stream every day this week, obviously. Already done Monday, Tuesday and today. We'll be doing one tomorrow and we'll be doing one on Friday. Tomorrow's stream is going to be around about 6 o'clock, 6:15. Again, obviously the deadline, the transfer window slams shut at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Unfortunately, I am in work until 4 and don't get home till around 5 p.m. So I'll try and get the stream up and running as quickly as possible. We'll say 6 p.m. For now, obviously a little bit like today's stream. However, it gives us a little bit of a chance to not only go through all of the transfer news, not only go through all of the transfer rumours, but sit down and obviously see who we've managed to bring in and what our squad is going to look like come the opening day of the season. If we were to do a stream earlier on in the day, I would do if it was possible. But again, like I said, the latest team allows us to sit down after the transfer window is officially shut and really see where we're at, whether we've got Wilfried Zaha, whether we've got a centre-half, whether Sidibe is being done, which I believe will happen. It allows us to sit down. So yes, there will be a live team tomorrow. It will be around 6 p.m. again, and we'll be talking about all of the rest of today's news after we finish today's team, all of tomorrow's news, and then of course what our squad looks like come the end of the transfer window. Everton FC at the best says, are you going to any games this season? Yes, I've got a season ticket, so I'll be going to all of the home games, and I'm hoping to go to as many away games as possible, but we'll have to see how that one plans out over the season. Live Vid says, would you be Mina and Keane if that was starting? Would you be disappointed if Mina and Keane were starting? I wouldn't. I think Michael Keane was our best centre-half last season. I think he was massively improved, and I think Yerry Mina's got a lot to prove. I really do. Yes, it's disappointing that we haven't got Kurt Zouma in to be a potential starter. However, I do think Yerry Mina's got a lot to prove, so I wouldn't be disappointed if that was our starting centre-back partnership come Saturday. Dosbig says, where is the Longinese right back? Isn't he San? If you're referring to Djibril Sidibe, he has apparently, according to L'Equipe, had his medical today at Everton and is very likely to sign within the next 24 hours, so I suppose we'll just have to wait and see how that one develops. I do fully expect him to be an Everton player before tomorrow's deadline. Everton FC is the best says, haha, I bet the Red Jet will be clapping themselves when the derby comes. Clapping themselves, sorry. I dare say they will. If they see our front three as Zaha, Richarlison and Moise Keane, I dare say they'll probably be a little bit worried. Simon Toll says, let's all hit the likes for this guy. Thank you very much, Simon. I really do appreciate that one. Like I said, 67 people in the live comments, so if we can get as many likes as possible, that would mean a massive amount to me. Kadir says, I follow you from Turkey. You are good. Thank you very much, Kadir. That really does mean a massive amount to me as well. Squad Ruble says, can you vlog? I'll be doing a few vlogs next season. I'm not sure whether I'll be doing them at the game, because I'm not going to lie, it's not my thing. I like to go to the game, I like to sit down and I like to watch the game and then have my reaction straight after. If I do go to any away games, I'll probably do a vlog of the day. Squad Ruble also says stream away games. I won't be able to stream them, of course, because I get in trouble, but if I do go to away games, I might put together a little bit of a vlog of the day, and obviously you'll have the instant match reactions and the game reviews and all that stuff as per usual. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's team. A massive thank you once again to everybody for joining. It's been another absolutely unbelievable stream. I cannot thank you all enough for all of the support recently. Again, hitting 80 viewers at one point, got 64 in the live viewing count now. Obviously, everybody for getting involved in the live comments. I literally cannot thank you all enough. If you could hit that like button on the stream, it would mean a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button as well. It only takes a second and you'll be kept up to date with all of the latest Everton news between now and 5 p.m. tomorrow, which of course is the deadline, and then everything after that as well, leading into the Premier League season, and of course throughout the entire Premier League season. We're going nowhere, of course. you know, we'll be continuing the channel forever, basically. That is me plan. So yeah, a massive thank you once again for all of the support on today's team and on every other team that we've done in the last few days as well. Like I said, streams every single day. There will be another stream tomorrow at around 6 p.m. The transfer window slams shut at 5 p.m. tomorrow, so be really interesting to see what business we can get done before then. Hopefully Wilfried Zaha is an Everton player. Hopefully we bring in another centre half, and hopefully we can bring in Sidibe as well. And who knows what Marcel Brands has got up his sleeve. You know, we don't know at the minute. The Chris Smalling transfer come out of nowhere, the Iwobi transfer come out of nowhere, the Gabaman transfer come out of nowhere last week, so who knows what Marcel Brands has got up his sleeve. Let's just trust in Brands, trust in Silva, and hopefully we'll have the additions that we know about tomorrow, and maybe a couple of more as well that we might not necessarily know about. Like I said, a big day tomorrow, a big day for the rest of today as well. I dare say there'll be a load more transfer news, and we'll be coming to you tomorrow at 6 p.m. to discuss it all, as well as what our squad looks like. Not long now, less than 24 hours, 22 hours nearly, until the transfer window slams shut. So like I said, don't forget to follow us on Twitter as well, at MightyBluesYT, to keep up to date with all of the latest transfer information over there. And don't forget to join us at 6 p.m. tomorrow night to discuss all of the rumours, all of the transfers, and hopefully to be sitting here dancing around going, Wilfried Zaha is an Everton player. So yeah, thank you all very much, as per usual. Simon says, have you ever been to the Philippines? The birds are boss. I've never been to the Philippines, no. And I've got a girlfriend as well, so if I was to go, I wouldn't be looking at any women, because I'm a loyal guy. Hakim says, hey bro from Monaco, come on Everton, bring Zuma FFC. Hello, I hope you are doing well. Thank you for joining us, obviously all the way from Monaco, and yes, me too, I hope we do bring Zuma in. Everton FC is the best, says 55 likes. Yes boys, thank you very much to everybody who has hit the like button on today's team, and thank you very much. Everton FC is the best for pushing this team as per usual. Hakim says, Everton Morocco on Instagram, lads, give me a follow. Go and follow Everton.Morocco on Instagram. I would myself, but I don't have Instagram. It's something that we're looking at getting over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that one. Kiara says, thanks again for the class vid. Hopefully tomorrow's vid will be even better. Thank you very much for joining, and thanks to everybody else as well. And yet, like I said, hopefully we'll have a little bit more breaking news tomorrow regarding Wilfried Zaha, and hopefully we see him pictured in an Everton shirt. Good Soul says, nice one Cam, great vid again. Thank you very much, Good Soul. And Scott says, great vid Cam, see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, Scott. And thanks to everybody for joining today's team. If you have enjoyed, like I said, please do leave a like. Don't forget to join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. The transfer rumours don't stop. The transfer deals don't stop. We've got another manic day ahead of us. Between now and then, don't forget to go and follow us over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with all of the news between now and then. But we'll be coming tomorrow. We'll be catching up on everything that happens for the remainder of today, and we'll be talking about obviously everything that happens tomorrow. So should be a really exciting one again. If it's anything like today, it'll be absolutely manic, and that's exactly what you want to see. But once again, a massive thank you for watching. Please hit the like button if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. It would mean a massive amount to me. Don't forget to join us at 6 p.m. tomorrow for another live stream. The transfer window slams shut at 5 p.m. so let's see how the squad is looking at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Massive thank you for watching. Once again, Everton FC is the best. I see you, Cam. Have a good one. Can't wait till the next video. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all your support, and I'll see you tomorrow for another live stream. I'll see everybody else. Thanks for getting involved in the live comments as per usual. If you're watching as a YouTube video afterwards, leave your comments in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to be reading and replying to them as well. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. A massive thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.